Alright, hello ladies and gentlemen, this is Ceremonial Witch, and here comes another mishmash, mixed up episode. And the reason I say that is because, well, for the majority, I recorded something yesterday morning after watching some Alan Watts. If you don't know who Alan Watts is, he's a philosopher. He's got lots of videos on YouTube. You should really check him out. It sparked an idea in me about the whole event thing I was talking about last time. Sorry, I'm shaving or trimming some hair on my face. But yeah, so I started talking about that, and then I fell asleep, went to work. I really wanted to put out the episode yesterday, so you'll hear me talking about. I'll probably put it out before the end of at nighttime instead of during the day, which obviously didn't happen because it's only coming on now. But anyways, so once again, it's going to be one of those episodes with lots of intros. Maybe I'll throw songs in between them just to, I hate all the copyrights I get, but maybe I'll just throw some songs, just one song each in between them, just to mix it up so it doesn't look or sound so fucked up. But before I get into or get more into that, I want to talk about if you are doing a magical practice, and it doesn't matter which magical practice you're in, whether you're just studying the Kabbalion, you're doing some new age type spirituality that's based off of maybe some witchcraft, maybe some ceremonial magic, maybe some pranayama, maybe you're a heathen. Doesn't matter, whichever one you're doing. Let's say you're kind of, maybe you're even going through a dark night of the soul, but maybe you're at that stage before the dark night of the soul. You had some success in manifestation, and then things are kind of not happening for you right now, or you're having the opposite effect. Maybe, your pendulum is going the opposite way. Let's just say, for a hypothetical situation. And the only reason I bring it up is because this happens often to me. I will be 100% all devout and believing and, grateful that I'm being able to manifest my life purpose and work, and everything's going great. And then, all of a sudden, even while everything is going great, I'll get these, I don't want to say nihilistic, but similar to nihilistic feelings, maybe even depressive-like feelings that come over me, and there's really no reason for it, considering everything is going right. I chose to go back to work. I'm doing that. I'm actually excelling very well and rapidly in my job. There's like maybe some things I could pinpoint that aren't ideal about my situation, but I know probably better than most that everybody has those situations. And on top of that, anytime that happens to me, I'm pretty good at switching my mind around. And if for some reason I'm having one of those days where I'm having trouble switching my mind around or remaining positive or thinking positive, I know to look at some of the people in my life that don't have it as good as me, that haven't had it as good as me, that have a hard time of it. Some people that never had maybe a relationship or a job or a car or any of the stuff that I've been blessed to have, children, all that stuff. So those are some of the things I do whenever I get in those states. But all that being said, you can get out of those states, but sometimes it's just like, well, okay, I'm out of the state, right? But then, I'm back in the now, and how come my magic isn't manifesting? What's going on? Normally I'm able to stop thinking about it by now, and then it comes by now, and it still hasn't happened, and, and so that's kind of what I want to address on. And I say it could even be this may even work for the people who are just starting in magic, who are trying to manifest something, and they're on the fence. Either something may have happened, and they think it's their magic, but they're not sure, or they're caught in that it could be complete coincidence, trapping that happens. So every time that I get into these states where I'm kind of like Because what happens is when you start doing the depolarization exercise and you start becoming depolarized, and you're working hard at being depolarized, things don't rub you the wrong way anymore. Your husband, wife, kids, family, mom, dad, whoever, significant other, person you're living with is asking you to do certain things. You don't really want to do them, and some of these things you may have enjoyed in the past, or at least pretended to enjoy, and now you're finding it really hard to enjoy them. I find this is a fitting subject, being that Christmas is coming. Now, I have 4 children, so the magic of Christmas, per se, even though there is no magic in Christmas, but the magic of Christmas is still alive and well in my house, and I try to go above and beyond and put these feelings aside. But the first Christmas I had when I was going through the New Age, and then the second Christmas I had when I was going through the curriculum, and the third Christmas I had, all these Christmases have not been without difficulty, because first of all, I know I always end up researching pagan versus Christianity, what beliefs come from where, what was the original belief, and then, that'll take you to Saturnalia by the Greeks, and then you'll get information about, what's the name of the tree? There's a pagan, they call it pagan, but there's where they bring in, I forget the name of the fucking tree, but anyways, they bring in a type of tree. It was like a log, basically, and it was to burn to keep your house warm all winter, kind of thing. It wasn't something that you dressed up, but some places will tell you that evolved to dressing up your Christmas tree and all this shit. And initially, anyways, there's many stories in this, because there's many cultures, and who's to say which one's real and which one's fake? I'm not going to go there either, but the point is, especially around big holidays that you used to enjoy a lot, when you get depolarized and you get into magic, then sometimes those things don't seem so special anymore, which is hard on you, because if you haven't completely rid yourself of all your programming or paradigms or belief systems, what can happen is the time of year where you normally get happy and enjoy it can become kind of depressing, because it's like, well, okay, I got all this new information. Life is good because I can manifest what I want, and I have magic, and I'm always practicing, and this knowledge is so, I love researching this knowledge over and over again, blah, 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 blah. But now these simple little joys that I used to get, like Christmas, I can no longer enjoy like everybody else, you know what I mean? So it's tough. And then if you add the fact that maybe your magic isn't working at this time, or so it seems, and you feel like there's something you should be doing, or you're not as far ahead as you are, or whatever the case is, it could be a tough thing to do. And if anybody's going through this, and I'm guessing someone is, this is what I'm saying, probably coming to me right now, because like I said, I was going over and on about the event and Jesus and awakening, and why Jesus said he was the Son of God, if he is an historical person, which I'm not saying he is, but all of a sudden I got sidestepped to this, so I'm guessing someone needs to hear this information, so I'm going to keep going. But if you're having troubles, okay, the best thing I can say, and what I do every time that I get into a place, like I go on my computer to, it's like, fuck, what do I do? Okay, well, I'll look at something, I'll research something or whatever, and then you just can't seem to find what you want, and you can go watch your comfortable, happy videos that you watch that, reaffirm things in your head, which aren't a bad thing. Some people will say, to not listen to the same information over and over again, information that you resonate with, and I've also said this, because you're not going to learn anything, and that's true. But the one thing I know as well is it takes time for belief systems to be put in your head, and the more you subjugate yourself to something that is in line with a belief system, so putting on the Mind and Magic series over and over again, keep rewatching it, within the same year 3 or 4 times, is going to do a world of good. Just doing that, because like when you watch TV on the couch, your subconscious mind doesn't know the difference between real and fake, like I've said before. So therefore, this is inputting it into your subconscious mind that magic is real. You're listening to someone who's going through the steps, the do's, the don'ts, and then testimonials about why magic works and how magic works and the proof of magic works. So the more you do that, the more you're going to build programming in yourself to magic works, and therefore you'll be able to do magic. So that's not a bad thing. So if that can help you, then go over and do something like that. But I'd say go back to the basics, go back to the beginning, rewatch the shit you started watching way back when, whatever got you into this person. Not so long ago, whenever I was going through my second Dark Night of the Soul, same thing happened to me. I was having to go back to work, and I was doing various magics for various things, for different jobs, circumstances, to kind of stay at home or part-time with full-time income. And they were all working, because I manifested this painting job that was like part-time hours. I got paid for driving to and from Montreal. It was great fucking money. It was a day shift, whatever the case was. Plus, it ended up being like my own business, so I was able to use it as business and not hide money in there, but there was different tax things I could do with that. So it was sick. And then I got at the same time I manifested a what's it called, transcript job that I was able to stay at home and do. I wanted a job I could stay at home, and I got handed a transcript job, which was I could transcript just audio, video, and all that, and it paid actually more than because I think it's like 40 or 50 cents a letter, or 40 or 50 cents a minute for the regular jobs. And I got one that was, and I have no experience or anything like that, but I manifested one that was almost $2 a letter and all that. And, I pissed it away because I was in this nihil state. I was in this depressive state, Here's two jobs. One was part-time, getting full-time hours and money. And then here was another one that I could stay at home for that other part of the time and make pretty good money. Because, to be honest, the one day I did bang out transcripts, I banged out a fuckload. And, I got paid through my PayPal. And just for that one day, I got quite a bit of money. So it could have been, something I did only like a third of my time and got part-time wages, and you add that to the full-time wages I got for the part-time job painting, and then I manifested all these various things. But because my mind wasn't right, because my focus was all over the place, my manifestations were still happening, which is pretty amazing. Because a lot of people say only manifesting on one thing at a time, and that's because more power goes into it and it'll come faster. But like I said, depending on how I do it, mine come generally pretty fast lately, and it's just because of the always inputting new doing sigils to make my manifestations happening, and do sigils to make myself be able to speak things into existence. This is a lot of the things that I've done. Instead of just asking for this, asking for that, what I do instead is I fucking ask to be able to ask better. I ask for my powers to be better. I ask for my body to automatically know what it needs, stuff like that. You know what I mean? So I've done a lot of that. So I think that's why my manifestation happens faster. But once again, these jobs, and so those jobs were more in line with what I kind of thought I wanted to do at the time, right? Stay at home, be with my baby and all that. So she'd only have to be at daycare part-time. The other part of the time I could be at home. I could do a transcript thing, and I'd be still making more, potentially more than I'm making now. But I wasn't right. My head wasn't right. I couldn't do it. I couldn't follow through with either one of those. So kind of sucks. I burnt those bridges. And I won't be able to get that transcript job back, or get the go back to the painting job. Well, the guy told me I could go back to the painting job if I wanted to, but yeah. Anyways, so this was not so long ago, and how did I fucking deal with this? Well, I honestly had to go back and put on the Higher Self channel. That's right. I had to go back to New Age stuff, okay? Because when I was in a dark time, I was in a dark night of the soul, and it wasn't long after this that I found Jordan Peterson. And this is kind of what led me to Jordan Peterson at the time, which eventually led me out of this dark night of the soul, and I realized I had to hit the problem head on, find a job that, something I'd be good at, something new, something in a long, not necessarily warehouse, but something similar to what I was doing before, that I painted the picture in my head that this is slavery, okay? I had to find something similar to that, go into there and absolutely dominate it, and go there happy and do a good job, and then come home happy and be able to leave work at work and be able to transmute issues while I'm at work and shit like that. But before I got there, I had to put on the Higher Self channel. I had to re-listen to the video that said, "Are you one of the prophesized 144,000 light workers here to save the world?" I had to hear that over and over again. I played that video, and because that was the first video that took me from my fear-based media stage, my Saturn chakra opening up, your crown chakra opening up, which lets the Earth Star chakra, which I don't like using these terms, but there's an energy from the Earth that until you open your first chakra, which is your first gland, which is your root chakra, okay? Sorry, not your ground chakra, your root chakra. Once you open that up, even though you could still be in fear-based media, you can stay there, but at the very minimum, at least you open that up and the energy from the Earth is coming up through you, which has a whole whack of benefits. So even if you don't go any further, this is why you can see these truthers. A lot of truthers out there seem so smart, so in tune, almost seems like they have a lot, and it's because they open that chakra, they open that floodgate for that energy to pour through them. They're getting the Earth energy. See, everybody who stands on the Earth will get the Earth energy, and even if they don't have their root chakra open, if they go stand outside with no shoes on, whatever, they'll still get healing and stuff from the Earth, but they have to have that direct channel, the direct current. Whereas someone who has the root chakra open doesn't necessarily need to do that. Now you can only visualize roots coming out of you into the ground. You can visualize that energy coming up through you, and it will be, and you don't necessarily need to. This is when, doing the middle pillar will help keep you balanced as well. And so it's a good thing. However, I would still suggest once in a while physically putting your feet on the ground and doing that. I think I've already went through the studies, but there was a bunch of studies done with, I forget the number of people. I want to say it was 20 people. 20 people in test groups. And, they didn't really, all these people suffered from, I want to say, I forget what they were, but I think it was mainly either depression or anxiety or possibly both. But it was one of those two. It's in one of my older episodes. I have the better statistics on there. But out of the 20 people that went outside and just put their feet on the grass, on the ground, for a period of, I want to say it was 30 days, but I'm not positive on that either. I think it was like 15 out of those 20 people were cured. They had no more depression, they had no more anxiety just from that. And the 15 that it didn't cure, well, they found out that those people had other diseases. I know one being cancer. I want to say one was Alzheimer's and maybe diabetes, but I don't exactly remember. Okay, so please look it up. You'll find this study pretty fast. Earth and Ground in Google. And in one of my, I know I got 100 episodes, so it sucks to go through. But one of my previous episodes, I talked about it. And what happened was that the Earth energy going through these people, well, it realized that there's no point in curing the depression because the cancer on this person is just going to make them depressed again once they stop. So it actually started working on that, and they seen, it didn't cure it, but there was improvements in their cancer because I guess that person knew they had cancer or whatever, and then the previous size of said tumor was smaller, something to that effect anyways. But the point is that the people, if they stand on the ground, they will receive the healing from the Earth. What it does is the negative ions, you can look at it as, the negative ions come into you and balance you out from the positive ions, or they pull the positive ions out. Either way, you become balanced. You get grounded because the Earth is negative energy and we are bombarded with positive energy, but we are supposed to be these little neutral sticks going around, a little bit more plus, a little bit more minus, but generally pretty neutral. But anyway, so if you are feeling like this, you need to go back to the basics, okay? You need to go back to the Kabbalion was the next step I did. Because I remember Frater Xavier saying nothing. Anytime his head starts to get sore, because, reading too much occult and magic, getting too locked up in your conscious head can make your head fucking spin and make your head sore. So anytime that happens, he's reminded to go back to the Kabbalion, that nothing has to be more difficult than that. Because that's what can happen as well, right? People can have these great ideas and beautiful insights, and, you start listening to them, and then they start sharing all these different insights that might not be in line with what you know, and, that stuff may or may not be true. That doesn't really matter, but point is, what works for someone might not work for everybody, and as long as you're doing the Kabbalion following those hermetic principles, then you're golden. So yeah, if you're feeling nihilistic and sad and, you know, what's the point? And if we're all just in the mind of God, then what's the point of even living or doing this shit or whatever the case is? If you're feeling like that, and I'm not judging because I feel like that, fucking, I don't know, I get like, I want to say once a week I get like that. And I have to, because I have strong Pisces and 12th house placements, being that my 12th house is huge. It's my biggest house. My 12th and my 6th house are my biggest houses in my chart. And I remember Friedrich Xavier and a lot of other people also said the same thing, but I remember him saying, because he's got a strong Pisces placement, it wasn't until he started cleansing his energy every day that he started feeling differences from physical pain going away to mental, you know, psychological issues, pain, anxiety, depression. And it's because he's got a strong Pisces placement. So my Pisces, I have Jupiter in Pisces, which Jupiter, if you know anything about Jupiter, Jupiter expands anything it's in. And Pisces is a very receptive water sign. It's a very spacey, you know, in between the worlds, basically. Pisces got 1 foot in, 1 foot out. That's why it's got the fish tied at the tails. 1 foot's in the spiritual realm, or sorry, 1 fish is in the spiritual realm, 1 fish is in the regular realm. So being that I have Jupiter there, I have that expanded. Not only that, within that 12th house, that's in my 11th house, mind you, Jupiter being a Pisces, but in my 12th house, which is ruled by Pisces, which is, you know, 12th house and Pisces are the same. Pisces starts my 12th. Being that I have Jupiter there, I have that expanded. Not only that, within that 12th house, that's in my 11th house, mind you, Jupiter being a Pisces, but in my 12th house, which is ruled by Pisces, which is, you know, 12th house and Pisces are the same. Pisces starts my 12th house, and then it ends in Taurus, so it skips all of Aries. But within that 12th house, I have Mercury right before my ascendant line. I have my North Node, or Chiron, however you want to pronounce that, as well in there, which is kind of what I'm supposed to do. So anyways, because that big house, because of the strong Pisces placement, because, you know, among a lot of other things, but what Jupiter does in that Pisces placement, I've went over this before, the water signs are attached to emotion and empathy. And, you know, anybody says they're empathic or an empath, I would say, well, if I look at their chart, I'll be able to tell if they're lying or not, because if they don't have any like Jupiter and any of the water signs or any of the other planets that would, you know, promote that, then they're probably a liar. And if they're going around using it to place themselves above other people, well, then that's really not a trait of empathy, because being someone who, I don't want to call myself an empath because I don't like using titles, because I find titles are used too often to put people above other people or to put people in groups, and my group is better than your group kind of thing. So, but being that I am an authentic or official empath, okay, and that's wrong, me saying that, I just kind of proved my point I just made, but, or went against what I just said, but I can tell you right now that the last thing I want to do is put myself above anything else, anybody else, and try to promote myself and make myself look better. I am a competitive type, but not in the sense of I want to be better than you. I want everybody to see how good of a job I did without fishing for the compliment, I guess, so to speak. But point is, anybody who thinks they're an empath, if they think they're a true empath and they don't have the birth chart or don't have that, well, you need to learn how to cleanse your energy every day. And this could be another issue of why you're feeling like this, because if you have a strong Pisces placement or any of the water sign placements, if you're absorbing people's energy, because that's what Jupiter does in Pisces. If you're around someone too long, you're literally going to take on their energy. This is why empaths want to help people. That's why empaths, if they're with somebody, when someone tells them their problems, they'll go above and beyond to try to help that person sometimes, because they feel their pain literally just by being too close to them. And this is why empaths, whenever it's done properly, can be great energy healers, because they can take on that person's energy as their own. And if I take on someone else's energy and I transmute it within me, okay, then I can transmute their emotional state as well. Because if you learned anything from those Greg Braden videos, well, energy, you know, whether you separate it, if you take two particles and you split them in half, put them 14, I think it was kilometers apart. What you do to the one particle happens to the other particle. So this person's energy, if I take it on now too, it's like a splitting it. I'm taking some of their energy. If I transmute it within me, it's going to transmute within them. Now, that doesn't mean the situation that caused that feeling to happen is going to change. And this is another reason why the empath will go above and beyond to try to fix the problem. So if you're an empath, understand that you can transmute people's energy, and you can help them like that by taking on their energy and transmuting it and putting it into a positive place. Because if I go hang out with somebody and they're in a depressive state, well, then I can come home and I could take on that depressive state, and I'm gonna listen to it, I'm gonna feed to it, I'm gonna cry with it, I'm gonna be sad with it, and then what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna bring it to a brighter place. If I know the person personally, what I do is I will use either positive affirmations or just positive spell, say it out loud, write it on a candle, doesn't matter, and I will put it down, and I will change that outcome via the words that I use and what I accept and what I reject. I reject that old feeling and I accept this new feeling. And that person will actually feel better. I've actually texted them and asked them, and I found out. But the problem is that empaths that don't know this, that just watch the New Age stuff, go around saying, I'm an empath. I got to hide from everybody. I got to have these 4 crystals that protect my energy, blah, 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 blah. Well, that's not correct, because you're still going to keep doing it, because you can't avoid people altogether, and eventually you're going to be around someone, and then this is going to happen. And instead of doing what you can do, what you're capable of doing, and will make a good change and will help that person by transmuting that energy within yourself to help them out, instead of just trying to do some woohoo on them because you think you got powers and it doesn't work, do it on yourself and it'll help them. But also, what they're going to do is they're going to go try to fix their problem. They're going to take out money they can't afford and shoot money at their problem, but then that's just going to make the problem bigger, because that person's like, oh, I got a handout. Well, maybe I could do this all the time, keep getting handouts. You know what I mean? It's not going to teach them anything. So don't try to go fix the people's problems. If you're an empath and you're taking on people's energies, transmute that energy within you. You'll transmute theirs. It's going to be hard to do it probably near them. Not impossible, but it is harder. So try to go somewhere where you're not around them anymore, because have that energy continuously there, and you trying to suck it in. You know, anybody with more of a negative placement on their wheel, like I have more negative planets and more negative bigger signs than I do positive signs, right? Anybody like that also will have more tendencies to be empathic and take on people's energies. So all these could be reasons why that, everything's going good and all of a sudden you start feeling like crap. You got to think about all the people you were hanging out with, all the people that, you were beside, the longest time. I have episodes about this too, that, the days I'd lay beside my wife and I'd wake up and I'd just be a whole different person. You know what I mean? And I fell asleep on the couch a few times without her. And me and my wife do not like to sleep not beside each other every night. It's very tough. It's something we don't like doing, which is something we're forced to do right now when I'm on overnights. But anyways, but yeah, if I don't protect myself, have ambulance, or, take a second when I first wake up or when I first go to bed to put different protections up, I take on her energy. And if she wakes up happy, great. But she'll literally be downstairs waking up doing chores or whatever on a Saturday, let me sleep, and something will piss her off. And then I will wake up and I'm like, I'm not even conscious yet, but I'm halfway down the stairs and I'm already yelling at Owen and I don't even know what for. And that's how much this happens. And you can call bullshit all you want, but I'm telling you, this shit is true and this shit is real. And if you think back, you're going to think of times like this. And everybody has this ability that's empathic. So regardless of your Pisces or any of your water signs, you should be cleansing your energy and learning how. Simple little meditative exercises. The thing I like about meditative exercises or doing rituals in your head is because they put you in meditation. People don't understand that, I think, and people try to meditate and they'll do their ritual in their altar, and they may or may not be in a trance, and they try to meditate after, and they're like, oh fuck, and this might make them feel like they're not doing things right, and that's why their magic's not working. They're too much in their head, which if they just forgot it and just assumed they were doing it right, things would happen. But anyways, whenever you lay down and you do that magnet exercise where, you're laying down, it doesn't matter where, it could be just from your bed in your room, it doesn't matter where, as long as you can see in your head, visualize in your head, a magnet coming from the earth, the length of the bottom of your body, and then another magnet on the length of your right side, and the length of your left side, and the length of the top part of your body, and then one at your head, and then one at your feet, okay? I do one at a time, and it pulls off all the black, negative, metallic stuff. I use metallic, possibly lead, Saturn night energy. Now the Saturn is bad or anything like that, but Saturn is a positive air sign. His metal is lead. This is his realm, and if you have too much Saturn energy, it could be considered a bad thing. Too much of anything is a bad thing. So that's how I look at it. I'm removing this negative lead, and then once you see all this light, and you'll actually feel a pull. Maybe I felt it the first time I did it, but I know other people that said they've done it, and after the second or third time, they felt the pull too. But I do one magnet at a time, and I just, in my head, keep the other magnets there with the stuff on them, but I do one at a time, so like it doesn't get confused, or the magnets don't try to pull or anything at the same time, or whatever the case is. And then once all the magnets are done, they go into the ground where the earth will transmute that energy, okay, and reuse it, okay. And then from there, you see a nice white light from source. And don't think of this as positive or negative light, just light from source, soul life, spirit light, just a nice energizing light, just pure neutral, maybe energy. I know that doesn't really make sense because energy can't be neutral, but just picture something like that, because you don't want to put positive and you don't want to say negative. So just picture a nice light coming into you, and just renewing your aura basically is all it's doing, because you already have all the energy within you that you need, and you can channel more through a middle pillar and microcosmic orbit and all these other things. But that is another huge part. So before I knew about that, though, first thing I did was I went and watched all the old videos that put me in my happy place kind of thing, basically. And then I started rewatching The Mystery School. I read the Kabbalion and all that. But before I found Jordan Peterson to help me through my dark night of the soul, this is not about the dark night of the soul. This is just about being in a down, depressed, dumpy place, especially around the holidays. If you're kind of feeling like, well, I got to celebrate Christmas because I have kids, or my family does, and I don't want to seem weird, but I don't really see the point. Well, cleanse your energy, especially if you're around people that, either wear their heart on their sleeve, or those type of people that always have an issue, that are always complaining. Definitely cleanse yourself. And if you can avoid them or limit your time with them without being a dick or being rude, then do so, because those people do strain people. That's why there's people that aren't empathic, people that are more agreeable, or more people that are more disagreeable, rather. We'll just avoid those people altogether and find reasons to not talk to them. Whereas agreeable people like myself, we feel bad if we don't talk to them, but at the same time, we don't want to talk to them either. So you're putting yourself between a rock and a hard place. But anyways, so there's a couple little techniques if you're feeling down and depressed and in the dumps. Also, if you think your manifestation is not happening and you're depressed and down, well, it's not going to help your manifestations if you are down in the dumps. If you're feeling anxious, nihilistic, depressed, it's not going to help manifestation whatsoever if you're like that, right? You shouldn't be trying to manifest anything like that. So what I would say is do some rituals. Go back to your rituals. Especially if you're so anxious or nihilistic or depressed that you haven't been doing your rituals, and you're kind of wondering why your manifestation's not happening, so you're not doing your ritual every day. Well, I said it in a previous video. The days that I did three of the neophyte initiation rituals, which consist of the Kabbalistic cross, and thanking, welcoming the elements, elementals, the watchers, and then doing your lesser banishing on the pentagram, then your middle pillar, and then thanking the gods, and then your meditation on a card. Well, just even if you want to skip the meditation on the card, that's fine. And then finish it, do your and another lesser banishing, and then Kabbalistic cross, and then release the elements, and tell them to send the elements, and the elementals away. Tell the watchers they can stay if they want. And then Kabbalistic cross or close your circle, and then that's it. The days I did that 3 times, sometimes more, in a day, my manifestations happen twice as fast. So start, if you haven't been doing ritual because you're down, because you're not getting your manifestation, what the fuck, do your rituals. Start off with just in your head laying there, do it, and then do one at your altar, and then later on do another one. If you don't have the time for whatever reason, which I highly doubt, but record yourself doing it, the audio, and lay down to it at night and listen to that over and over again, so you're doing it while you sleep. You want to put this in your subconscious, so you are doing it in your dreams. That's the point. Well, that's one of the points anyways, but yeah, do your ritual more often. The more you do that, the better you're going to feel. Every time I do one, I feel better. Just like after every time I meditate, I feel better. Just like after every time I put out an episode, I feel better. Oh, my toe. fucking phone just fell on my toe, son of a bitch. Sorry about that if you guys heard the bang. But yeah, those are a few tips and techniques. If you're feeling down and depressed, it's okay to put on stuff that you've already watched before. You might get more profound knowledge. Plus, if it's going to put you in a better mood, then do it, okay? You have the right to say no to things you don't want to do. All right, not if it's something like you have to do, like go to work or whatever, and you already missed a few days of work and you're just going to keep avoiding it. No. Take on that responsibility, but if there's things you don't want to do, you can say no. But if it's, if you're not feeling optimum and you don't really know why, well, you might need to look into, different curses or bad energies or entities, stuff like that. But before you cross that bridge, I would totally say, cleanse your energy, do your ritual, do your banishings. Make sure you're reject, deny, and banish all your negative thoughts in your head. Go ground outside if you can. If you can't do the visualization in your head, clear your energy via meditation. You can even put on Reiki, look up Reiki, Loon Innate. She's awesome. There's another Reiki healer on there. Yeah, you pick the one you want, and there's tons of them for clearing your energy. You listen to that, lay down, you feel like $1 million after. But sometimes, whenever things start going wrong, or the opposite effect, Birch will tell you this, is whenever you're trying to manifest money, let's say, sometimes you'll lose money or you won't have money coming in. Well, that's because you've affected something. You've started a process. So don't stop the process. Keep going. Keep doing your fucking spell over and over again. Just keep tweaking it as you go. Don't change your spell, but add to it. Take away what might not be useful and keep making it new every time. And, just push through it, because fake it till you make it, baby. Because I'm telling you, that's the motto of the game. Because if you act like you're happy, even though you're not, you will infallibly become happy. So the point is, what can you do to make yourself feel happy so you don't feel so fake, okay? Because if you're pretending to be happy but you're not really happy, well, there's an issue there. So identify that issue and work on it, because I don't want to tell anybody to suppress their issues, because if you have something eating at you and you're trying to find a way to be happy with that issue, well, no. I'm not trying to give you advice to ignore that issue. No. Dark night of the soul, baby. Your time has come. You need to face that issue. You need to bring it to the surface, and you need to get it gone. And you're going to learn so much from that, and it's going to be profound. And, in my opinion, I didn't get to advance to after my initiation until I finished my first Dark Night of the Soul. And technically, I moved on to the second grade after Zelter. But technically I had another Dark Night of the Soul right around the time that I did that. So technically I personally think that I didn't graduate from the Zelter grade until I finished that initiation phase, or until I finished that second Dark Night of the Soul. So those are good things. So don't put them off. Yes, they're going to suck. And if you're in the middle of work, then maybe don't bring up those feelings right there. But if you can go home, go home. If not, when you get home, tell everybody you need about a couple hours to work some shit out because you're going through a rough time, and I'll explain later, and go do your thing. But yeah, you can't suppress that. But I'm talking about if everything's going right and you don't have those issues, then these are the things you can do. You might have picked up someone's energy. You need to get it off you before, you bring stuff in. You don't want to have negative thoughts. You banish, reject, deny. Bring yourself in the balance. If you can't get outside because it's snow and it's cold, make yourself a nice salt bath water, okay? There's a bunch of recipes online and some of the books I gave free on my episodes. I think Sorcerer's Secrets has a bunch of them in there. But just the salt and water is both neutralizing. We know this, right? Salt, it takes off negative energy. When you cleanse your house, it's salt and water. Go cleanse your body in the tub. That's the physical way of doing it. And then you can do your magnetic exercise while you're in the tub. That is so useful, and it works great. So that's actually a really beautiful tip. If you got a few trees around, water all your fucking plants in your house. If you have a plant and you've been neglecting it, or water it later, it'd be like telling, I don't know if you have a pet, but if you had a pet, you wouldn't do that. You would I'll feed it later, and then keep forgetting to feed your pet. We got to think of your plants the same way. If you're not feeling good, well, maybe you have plants around that haven't had water in a few days, and you're picking up that energy. Take care of these things, whether you believe in fairies or not. If there is an elemental force that protects the nature spirits, the nature plants, do you really want to piss that force off? water your plants. Don't take a flower or a plant in your house lightly. It's a being. It's alive. And if you let that being die, if it dies because somebody else does something to it or whatever, okay. If they were your responsibility, well then, there's some gray area there. But if it was your responsibility and you were the culprit, well, don't be surprised if things start going to shit. So introspect. Think about, all the things that you may or may not have done. And yeah, it's time for some inner work when this happens. You're going through a depressive state, depressive mind state, a depressing time, or being anxious for no reason. If it's for no reason, is your body telling you, hey, there's something you're either getting some intuition that something's not right, or something may or may not happen, or something needs your attention, or same thing, but internally, something needs your attention internally. It could be physical, it could be mental, it could just be, you might be finally, after watching magic videos and doing the magic and doing rituals after so much time, you might be finally breaking down some of your paradigms, some of your maybe religious or, any of these programs that are in you. When they fall off, you can have a feeling, and this is just my personal opinion, but you can get a feeling of I feel like I'm forgetting something, or I feel like I need to do something, or something bad's going to happen. You can get that feeling because it's technically you're losing something. Something is gone out of you that you've had for a long time that you based your life on. And that's why I find around Christmas time this comes up, because I've removed that programming. But every time Christmas comes around, it reminds me of the programming I used to have. And it's like I no longer have that programming in me to go run around and buy shit for people and be all impulsive. I mean, I still do, but it's from a different place. And it's like, the holidays are normally so hectic that I don't have time to get depressed. You just keep cracking on and you do as much overtime as you can. And then for those couple of days off, and you spend with family and you spend as much money, and then you drink, and then boom, it's all over with. And then the new year comes and you start off the new year broke. It's so hectic and so busy, you don't have time. Well, I don't have that in me anymore. I don't have that program to do all that shit, to run all that that operating system, to run that shit anymore. So when this time comes around, it reminds me that I don't have that anymore, which, sometimes it brings up like, kind of weird feeling inside of me. But if you're just new at it, if this is your first year and you're feeling like that, it could be that. There's too many things for me to say without talking to you or knowing you what the problem could be. But these are just a few of the issues you could have. So introspect. Make sure you replace that paradigm with a new paradigm, and it's okay to celebrate Christmas even though you're a witch or ceremonial magician now. It's okay, especially if you have kids. Like Birch says, you don't want to fucking take away the cool spiritualities or the cool religions with the cool holidays and try to force yours on your kid. I don't force anything on your kid. I let my kids choose what they want. And like I said, they all go to Catholic school because I went to a Catholic school. And I think it's important to have a paradigm that a God exists. And then from they form their own God, And then when they ask questions to me, hopefully they come to me, if they ask questions about what God is or what God doesn't, or, hey, the priest said this, but this doesn't make sense. I didn't think God was like this. Then I can explain, no, you're right and the priest is wrong and shit like that. And then, as they get older, give them the details. And I'm not saying your kids should or should not be in a religious school. I don't know if it's good or bad. I just know what worked for me and where I am now, so I'm just following in those paths. But anyways, I'm going to put it back on to the shit I was talking about, the event. So I hope all that stuff was helpful. If you go back in my old episodes, you'll see more information about the different things I already talked about. And yeah, have a great day.
Tell us where you're from, what you want to become, and we'll say if you're off everybody. It's Corey LeBlanc, Ceremonial Witch. So Mercury Day. Today I normally put out an episode. I normally get the episode out before I leave for work. However, today that had not happened. I'm currently driving to my wife's work to bring her coffee potentially, if I have the time, and swap some things out from car to car that she needs for tonight, shit like that. But anyways, besides the point, hey, what's going on? So, like I said recently, the last episode was about the event. What is the event? And the event is what I'm speaking about, what a lot of people are speaking about, whether it's New Age, whether it's Law of Attraction, whether it's the Christian rapture, whether it's a cataclysm. All these things are basically one and the same, you know, whether it's the information of enlightenment and how to reach enlightenment and how to attract what you want, and spiritualities like witchcraft, or, you know, using the ceremonial magic curriculum, all one and the same, just different polarities, different extremes, you know. The rapture, the Christian version of Christ coming back and everybody dying and shit like that, is the same as you using the law of attraction to get what you want. Be it that if you get your law of attraction information from a place where it doesn't really tell you to be depolarized or anything like that, then, you know, you may not be able to attract anything with any great success, or you might not get anything too big, and you may, you know what I mean? It's I think it all depends on your personal chart, and, you know, how all on your personal beliefs and belief systems that are instilled in you. Like I've said many times, you know, if you are of any faith, doesn't matter. I feel like I pick on Christians a lot, and I feel like it's okay because I used to be and am one, technically, that I don't want to practice religion anymore or anything like that. But so I feel like it's okay, but it's not, because I'm judging these people, and I shouldn't be judging anybody. Can't be preaching polarity whenever I'm being polarized towards a certain group. But besides the point, so what I'm trying to say is, you know, if you have some belief that's stopping you from getting money, or stopping you from having healing done, because, you know, same thing goes for money, goes within the Christian faith, and it once again, but, you know, powers. I talked about my grandmother who, you know, quote unquote was a witch. She was born with these healing abilities that her mother also had. She was a seventh sister of a seventh sister, and her mother made her stop practicing them, because when asked the priest, when either my great-grandmother was little or my grandmother was little, one of the two, or maybe both, but when they asked the priest how healing people use these powers instead of the devil, these powers are of the devil. This is the devil's work. Only God is allowed to pick who gets to go to heaven, who gets to die, and all this shit, whatever, blah 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 blah. And that's why that was the answer to when they asked, well, how can healing somebody be of the devil? So that's a reply they got. So point is, just like if you're trying to manifest money, just like if you're trying to heal your loved ones, if you have this belief in you that, you know, what you're doing is of the devil and is bad, your subconscious isn't going to allow you to do it, because it doesn't want you to be bad. And it doesn't understand the difference between real and fake. It doesn't understand, you know, whether it's watching TV or reading the Holy Bible. This is the reason that these books and the TV and all this shit exists, is to pull one over on, I don't want to call the subconscious mind gullible, because subconscious mind just is what it is, and our conscious mind is supposed to be there to protect it, because it can be a little more gullible. So, it is what it is. The subconscious mind is vastly more powerful, and, you know, controls more things and does more things and has more functions. So, in a sense, it doesn't have time to pick and choose what it wants to believe. So, you know, saying it's gullible or naive or anything like that is just not accurate. It's doing so many jobs, performing so many tasks that, you know, it just accepts things. It just accepts the female energies of the gender-wise. On the polarity scheme, it is the negative. Electricity, or a negative sign, basically, not positive. Whereas your conscious mind projects things on it. So if people project their thoughts on, their beliefs on what their God is and what their God likes and doesn't like, Whereas your subconscious mind just accepts everything. It just is, you know. That's why a lot of people, if they, let's say it was two gay men or women were Christians, and then their Christianity said, well, it's okay, you can be gay, just can't get married, and you're gonna go to hell. Well, then they went to a more accepting faith, such as witchcraft, because witchcraft is a female, like I said, gender, emotion, or not emotion, gender is negative. It just accepts. It doesn't project. Whereas, Christianity would be seen as a male projecting force. And, anything that's just one. I had a whole episode on this as well, being that Christianity only worships one type of electricity or one type of polarity, positive. It's only positive. There's one God, plus. Whether it's the air or the fire, I don't care, you choose. But within there, they have a polarity scheme, but the devil is something to not be worshipped, something to be feared. Fear the devil, fear the devil. And, how do you fear God and the devil at the same time? That's a very imbalanced fucking religion, if you ask me. And that's why everybody in the religion seems to be imbalanced. Sorry, I just pulled into my wife's work. Locate my vehicle. She told me fourth row. But anyway, so back to the point. Whether you are looking up, like I said, whether you are starting your fear-based media stage and you're not that you noticed, but sorry about that. Anyway, so like I was saying, whether you are in the fear-based stage of your awakening / chakras opening / initiation, whatever you want to call it, it's all the same, once again, but which is like the first stage of what happens to people. They have to get through a stage where everything breaks down. They start breaking down their belief systems. They start realizing that what they were told, what they were taught is inaccurate. Therefore, they can learn something new, because most people, if they retain or have or hold on to their old belief systems, how the fuck are they going to learn a new belief system? One that may be more accurate. So, let's try and remember where you're going with this, Corey. Oh, yeah. So the episode I had was on what the event is. And once again, I'm not trying to say the event is just this or that. I'm not trying to be like anybody. I'm not trying to force anything on anybody. All I'm trying to say is a very vague, broad description of the event would be how to live properly, how to manifest your life, how to do what you got to do within society. A long time ago, not a long time ago, but within my initiation, within doing all this research that I'm currently doing now into these domains, okay, I found some information on how to use your birth certificate to pay for stuff, anything that's done by the bank, how to basically reclaim dominion or sovereignty, however you want to look at it, how to basically use legal jargon in your favor. I've seen actual cases, and then I went and done research at my local courthouse for the cases that happened in Canada, and found out that what I researched was actually factual. These cases actually did happen, the ones in Canada. Anyways, I don't know about the ones in England, I don't know about the ones in the States, but all the ones that happened in Canada, like BC, about Irene Gavenhorst or whatever, I forget her last name, how to pronounce it, so that's on my YouTube page. All this shit's real. So, if you can't do the magic, or you're single and you don't have many contracts in your name, you're not opposed to maybe, getting divorced, losing your cars, or whatever the case is, then getting your live birth certificate and giving up your dead birth certificate and getting, and going off grid really, and then, because there's complications that happen with that, so you really have to do your research, but there's ways around than just doing magic and using your mind to be a free person, free man. However, because I am married and have a house and cars, and it wouldn't be fair to my four children, because I agreed with my wife a long time ago to have kids and get married and all this, and now all of a sudden I have this awakening, which, is what it is. Everybody's going to go through, but it wouldn't be fair to just fucking say, fuck it, one awakening, all contracts are null and void now, and, fuck you guys, you're on your own, and just leave them high and dry. So I chose to learn how to manifest my reality instead of going that route. Said, fuck it, I'm going to play by the rules of society that, aren't necessarily the rules of God or the Creator, but in the same sense, I'm going to be able to manifest what I want. It doesn't matter. I'm going to find my fucking passion. I'm going to get fucking paid for it. I'm going to enjoy myself at my job. I'm going to have a good life. I'm not going to be too tired. I'm going to heal my body. I'm going to be able to do whatever the fuck I want, basically. But, I'm going to have to learn a bunch of shit. That's putting time into this. And, it's become a passion within trying to find my passion, just doing this, to be completely honest. So, and what I've come to find out is, because, when I went through the beginning stages of my awakening, or whatever you want to call it, my initiation, I'd rather call it that, because the awakening assumes has connotations and all this crap. But let's call it what I just said, initiation. There was a lot of hype around the event, and then when you look back, there's a lot of talk about the event going back in history. So, shit. That being said, yeah, I'm not supposed to smoke in my parking lot at work. Well, there's specific smoking spots. We have 2 smoking spots, so since I'm not ready to technically go in yet, I'm just going to stay on the road here. I would smoke, since I'm still kind of just talking to you guys. But anyways, I'm going to be finishing this episode when I get home. But I noticed that there was lots of event things going on, every year basically. And then when you thought about it, there was a lot of cataclysms attached to these events, and there's a lot of bullshit, basically what I'm trying to say. So a lot of people take this event thing happening, and then the whole light workers, 144 light workers coming into power, I believe, is a play on the whole thing that I taught or said about Greg Braden, talking about how many people it takes to affect change. And if you had 144,000 people trying to do the same fucking thing, well, yeah, we would affect change pretty fucking fast. But that's besides the point as well. But anyway, so the event is this information. Now, I was watching this Alan Watts thing today, and I thought I watched every one of his lectures, because he's somebody I really like, a philosopher I really like, or a theologian, or him and Manny Hall. I find they go well together. But I was watching Alan Watts today, and I probably did see this, because I remember a lot of similar things that he said, but I never heard it quite in the context, because, just because his words are the same, just because it was the same thing I watched previously, my mind isn't in the same place as it was when I watched it way back when. So when I listened to it today, there's a lot of things that stood out. And he was talking about how Christ, he was basically making the case that it doesn't matter whether we believe Christ is a real or fake person. He's like, I can even accept, the miracles happen, but if we take it as something that happened in history, okay? And he wasn't really saying he did, but he's saying, let's say we say it was an historical figure. Well, Christ was somebody going through, this consciousness awakening. When people have these enlightened, what would be the word? I don't know, but basically like an enlightenment basically happening. But if you didn't have the right words, and he basically said what I was saying, and this is probably where I got it, but if all you have is your Christian belief systems, and then you only have the English language, well, if a spirit comes through you and transmits pictures, and you get this download of information, how like people like to say it, you get all this information, and you're basically doing the channeling process, all right? Well, you're only going to be able to explain said channeling by through your Christian context and your English language. He used the example of the speaker system he was talking through. If there was distortion, well, his message would come out all distorted. So back in Christ's time, basically, there was if you go by the facts, there was the Roman religion, and there was Judaism. And, if he was just somebody who had this conscious awareness, well, all he could assume would be, well, then I'm the second coming of Christ. And even to this day, right now, you can look around America, Canada, and other parts of the world, but people are saying they are having this conscious awakening. They are being, and they'll say they're Christ and shit like that, and people will laugh at them and say that's impossible.
didn't even scream. I'll be just fine pretending.
All right. So I don't really know where I was going yesterday with what I was talking about exactly. I was trying to get into the event, and then I was talking about Alan Watts and the history of Jesus Christ. And basically, the event is us coming into this knowledge, right? People accepting the fact that this is true. We can actually affect our life. We can change our mindsets. We can do these wonderful things, basically. So, and the fact that whenever Jesus was on this earth, okay, and once again, this is not, I don't think this is even Alan Watts' personal opinion or view, and this, once again, is not my view. I don't think Jesus is a historical figure or lived, but if we pretend or say he was, let's just pretend, assume, hypotheticalize that Jesus Christ was a person who lived on this earth at that time. Well, there's many people around this time in this day and age, going back a couple of decades, all through history, who've claimed they are Jesus Christ or a ascended master or some kind of son of God, some divine being, basically. And the reason for that, I really like how Alan Watts said this, and this, I'll put a link for it, maybe play a couple of pieces from it, but he's talking about how, whenever someone gets divine inspiration, automatic channeling, any channeled kind of message or whatever from divinity, basically, it's going to come out by, you're only going to be able to, because, it doesn't matter what language you speak or what paradigms you have, but whenever you get a message from the divine, it's going to look and feel the same. It's going to look, but it's going to depend on your language and your belief systems on how the output is. The input's going to be pictures of something. It's going to be a feeling. It's going to be thoughts, whatever the case is. But the output, how you put it into words, how you fucking say it. I'm having trouble speaking today. How you say it, how you transfer what you get in your head into words is going to depend on what language you speak and the belief systems you have. So if you're Jesus Christ and you're getting some divine inspiration, and you realize that we're all part of the Creator, and we can do these miracles, and He performs all these miracles in front of people, and this is what's happening. Well, what would you say? How would you tell that to people? Well, at that time, Judaism and the Roman Catholic religion were the two prominent religions, right? Therefore, in the book of, not Revelation, but in the Old Testament, it talks about Jesus coming. It talks about not Jesus per se. It talks about the Son of God coming, basically. And so that's what Jesus thought was going on, right? Because here's all these people believing in the Jewish religion, okay? Let's say you're Jesus. You're around all these people believing in the Jewish religion. As a kid, you already knew, he was in the temple, tipping over tables, saying this isn't right. He was in there teaching, as a child he knew. But as he got older, you realize, okay, well, not everybody thinks like this. Not everybody has these thoughts or gets these ideas or has this God talking to me or I'm connected to my Creator. So, therefore, with time, he realizes, okay, well, in our religion it says this, so I must be the Son of God. I must be this. And it's not a crazy assumption to think that if Jesus is a historical figure, he was just having a conscious awakening or unconscious awakening. He was connecting the two halves of his mind, which makes him be able to do all the fucking miracles and shit like that. And the only context he had, the only narrative he had, the only explanation, the way he could explain it, was that he is the coming of the Christ, coming of the Son of God. And the reason for that is because there was no way, if anybody was having these things, they either had to keep it to themselves or be a blasphemer, because that's something they made very clear, is if you're going to say stuff that isn't in line with your religion, it's called blasphemy, and you're going to get stoned if it's severe enough. You know what I mean? So it stops people from, cut people in line, basically, so they don't fucking go around speaking the truth. And here comes Jesus saying, I'm the Son of God, and how can you stone me? Because it says right in your book that the Son of God is supposed to come again, and I'm telling you I am Him, and look, I've done miracles and shit like that. So, it is what it is, but point I'm trying to get at is this awakening, one of its attributes is that it allows everyone to become the Son of God. And I know that sounds religious just because of the use of the Son of the God and all that, but I'm not religious in any sense. Well, I'm a very spiritual person. I believe in the spirits. I believe in divinity. I believe in an almighty creator God. I believe in the all as written in the Kabbalion. So I'm spiritual and religious in that sense. But I'm not a religious person in the sense of dogmatic Christianity. However, I said it like that just because we are all sons and daughters of the Creator. The Creator is experiencing this realm through us. Whether someone is awake or not is irrelevant. That person you hate, your enemy, your friend, those evil Illuminati dudes and shit like that, all these people are awake, are pieces of God, are your brothers and sisters. This is one of the reasons, I think, now this is my opinion, but I believe this is one of the reasons why people go out and say aliens, reptilians, stuff like that. They take certain people and groups they don't like, and they transform them and give them a personification of not being human, being a reptilian or something to that effect. And the reason is because if they're a reptilian, they're not actually human, therefore they're not part of the Creator, therefore it's okay to hate them. So they kind of bend the rules there. But it doesn't change the fact that that person actually is still a person. The Queen isn't a fucking lizard or some reptilian fucking alien. No, the Queen is the Queen. Regardless of what you think or believe, she is just the Queen. And if you're going to start hating her, then you're hating one of your brothers and sisters, and therefore they've got you to sin, or whatever, however you want to call that, but they've got you to do something that's going to put you not in balance anymore. You're going to be hating other people, and you're putting out that hate. So that's just a big trick. Say, okay, well, we change these people that that need love. We're going to change them into hated fear beings, such as reptilians, and then people are going to fucking hate them and project all this shit onto them, and then all the people will be putting out hate in the world, and then we're going to keep perpetuating this fucking hate cycle. And that keeps happening. This is how we keep the evil going in the world. It's not hard to say, okay, well, Satan lives in these people, and reptilians this, and something that. It's brutal, but that's what happens. So anyways, but what our time period allows us to do is have these conscious awakenings, the spiritual awakenings, without being blasphemers, without being stoned, without being crucified, without being burned at the stake, without any of that. We are allowed to have a conscious awakening in our time, and you can classify it as so many things. It's incredible.
There's no money, there's no possessions, only obsession. I don't need that shit. Take my money, take my obsession. Revolution in your heart and in your mind. You can find a
addition to this event being the conscious awakening happening, okay? So anybody telling you that the event is aliens coming down to Earth and God coming down to Earth, or a bunch of tornadoes, hurricanes, asteroids, all this shit, don't buy into it. Because what they're trying to do is take your conscious focus, your power, and place it into those ideas, and therefore make those things happen and come into being. And that's the last thing you want. But what it actually is the fact that we no longer, now I don't want to be one of those people that say you don't need to work, can't believe so many people are still working a job, blah, 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 blah. Because how could I? I'm working a job now. I took 3 years off, manifested money and cars and my mortgage and 10 grand and a whole shitload of things in that 3 years. So I know how to do it. And then chose to go back to work. And it's because I had to face my fear of the whole slavery thing, of being slaves, working for this evil Illuminati, blah, blah, bloodline, draconian, fucking lizards, fucking whatever bullshit. And it's just not true. I mean, I can't say something is or isn't true because, everything's are all but half truths, right? But that isn't my reality anymore. I am not a slave. I am not working for anybody but my family. And the truth of the matter is up until I find my purpose and passion, and maybe I've already found it, and it's just in a waiting period to pick up or whatever, but until I find my passion and purpose and make money from that, or if that's even how it plays out, or maybe it's not even going to how it plays out, maybe it's going to be something different. Point is, until I figure out what it is I'm going to be doing for the rest of my life, or how I'm, and really it's up to me. It's not like, I think people get this twisted a lot. They're waiting for their passion to reveal themselves to them, when really you're the one that has to open it up, to choose what you think your passion is and go for it. And then if you find out that it's not something you really like, something you really enjoy, well, you can always change, there's no use. But staying in a job you hate, just waiting for your passion to fucking materialize before your eyes without taking any fucking action, is not going to do a goddamn fucking thing. So I did that. I took the 3 years off. I left the job because I thought I was a fucking slave. And then after the 3 years, 2 dark nights of the souls, on to the 3rd fucking elemental grade in the curriculum, after being able to do lots of different spiritual things and becoming more enlightened, I went back to the workforce. But understand that it's not like it was before. When I go to work now, I'm not worried. I used to be the kind of guy that worried, if I didn't have enough sleep, I wouldn't be able to work right. If I didn't drink enough water, if I didn't work out. So many things had to go in for me to think I had a good day. But now, knowing what I know, knowing how easy it is for me to just split my mindset. If I'm having a bad day, I change my fucking mindset. I focus on something I want to happen rather than something I don't want to happen, and everything changes. So not only knowing that fucking helps me out, like, immensely, but everything I do happens so easily for me now. And I don't want to sound like I'm bragging. I don't want to sound like I'm an arrogant prick or I'm really good, because I'm not going to lie. My old job, Matrix, in the roofing, or even in CHEP, every one of these jobs, I've always been one of the quicker, faster worker guys. I'm always good for quantity, not always necessarily quality. But this is on a whole new level. Even the guys at work don't understand it, how I'm able to learn everything so fast and do the job to the specifications that it needs to be done. And the reason is, it's not because I'm stronger or I'm using any physical powers or mental powers or psychological powers or anything like that. It has nothing to do with that. It has a fact to do. I mean, maybe it's a variation of a bunch of things, but I think it's simply because of all the reading and writing and putting things together and the magic to expand my mind, and I'm continuously asking for knowledge, wisdom, intelligence, and the ability to be depolarized and neutral and stay in the middle and to not judge. I think by continuously doing that, I've managed to, my mind works way faster than most people. So whenever something comes into the room where I work, you know, whenever it comes to organizing and deconstructing and, you know, I already know what to do before I even fucking have to do it. And I think that's the difference, is all this time spending on my self-transformation that my mind got so fucking great at being able to work so fast, or my connection to my subconscious is so well that, because the subconscious knows all. So when it looks at the fucking tray of a bunch of crap that I have to do, well, it tells me what to do as I'm doing it, or it already laid it out all for me. So my job is easy, so I don't stress anymore. Because as soon as I get those stressful feelings at home, like, oh fuck, I barely slept. Oh, I should meditate. Oh, I should eat something. Oh, I don't have time for this or that or the other thing. Whenever I get those thoughts, I just say, wait a minute. I know that my job's a fucking breeze, that this is going to be easy, that I don't have to worry about anything. And it's true. And then I no longer have that anxiety. So, not to brag or anything like that, but taking that time off and then going back to the workforce was the best thing I could do. And now I'm not going in there as some disgruntled fucking person who hates his life, who's only there because I have to be there. I'm going there out of choice. I chose to go there so that I can expand my financial situation, so that the money from that job will pay for my bills, and then the money from my manifestations will pay for whatever I want, whatever I choose. And that's why I did that. And this is what the event is. It's the knowledge of being able to pick and choose the life you want, what you want to do. So I don't want to be the type of person saying you don't have to work anymore. But you absolutely don't have to work anymore. If you don't want to fucking work, you don't have to. But that being said, don't just quit your job and start focusing on, okay, I want money to come in every day for me for the rest of my life. You know, don't do it stupidly. You need to slowly set up things. Okay, so you're still working at your job. While you're working at your fucking job, you start reprogramming your mind to whatever you want to do, whatever job it is you're going to want. I mean, this is assuming you've already got rid of your belief systems, your self-limiting beliefs, any programming that's not going to serve you. You know, you got rid of all that. You've identified all the people you fucked over, and you're doing at least some form of banishing, whether it's banish, reject, deny shit, or the actual rituals of the pentagram. But this is assuming that's already all done, and you're in your initiation or whatever. Okay, we'll start putting the programming in for what you want to do. If you want to, because you can't just stay at home without money, unless you do what I said the first time around. Like I said, there's information out there on how to use your birth certificate, monetize it, and pay for debts and shit, and get out of the hole and reclaim your dominion and all that. There's ways to do that. Maybe that's the route you want to go. But if you decide to stay in this realm where you do have to pay bills and taxes and all that, and there's loopholes and you can find them, but in the same sense, be careful, because for every loophole you can get out of, there's another loophole that can drag you in. But the point is of all this, the point is, if you want to, you have to be able to have an idea. You have to know what you want. And that's the problem I keep running myself into. I don't know exactly what I want. I don't know exactly what I want to do. I love doing the speaker thing. I love speaking my truth and all that. But I'm not done the curriculum yet. So this is an ongoing thing, right? If I started speaker while I just started my Earth grade, basically, okay, and during that, so I've had the initiation. I've had the year before that of New Age. I had the year of initiation, and then now I'm into the first part of and then I had my first grade, and now I'm into the second grade, right? So if this is what I've accumulated, 105 or 9 episodes, well, just imagine with the next 3 grades how much more information I'm going to have. But to say that this is going to be my passion, purpose, or I'm going to make money from this, very, very unlikely, because it's, as much as the event is occult knowledge being widespread and people using their mind to manifest things, people realizing that this has been hidden from us, that we can use our mind to manifest things, all right? As much as that is the event, it's still not trending or popular enough to, make me millions of dollars just by ad revenue on Speaker. If I wanted to make money off this, I'd have to go sell programs that teach people how to do specific things. And I just simply don't think I'm at that level yet. Maybe I am, maybe I'm not. But the point I want to stress here is if you want to manifest your life, you need to sit down and write down what you want exactly. And I say write because as you write, you're going to work things out, figure things out twice as good as you can just think them up in your head. Because the things you're thinking of in your head might not even be yours. But what you write down is what you accept, what you reject, what you don't want, all into one organized whatever. Even if it doesn't look organized in the paper, it is better to do it like that. Sit down, write down what you want, and then you need to realize, okay, well, I want to be a stay-at-home person that makes fucking, occult stuff or magic supplies. I want to make wands, I want to make oils, I want to crystals, magnetic bracelets, fucking whatever, occult bumper stickers, doesn't matter. Which is a good idea, as an idea I had, but I never fucking did anything with it. But if I was to start a shop online and, I'll just give this away, I don't give a shit. Someone's already doing it. But sigilizing bumper stickers, how I say to make a sigil and fucking put it around your house so everybody's mind sees it. Well, imagine making your sigil, print it out on a fucking bumper sticker, and you fucking put that bitch on your car. So the person behind you who's fucking hating on you, who's got all this emotion inside mad at you, well then he's gonna put all that emotion into your fucking sigil. So you may not want the results of it, but you're definitely gonna manifest what you want. So there's a nice little free fucking tidbit for everybody. Anybody who wants to start a business, there you go. Sigil bumper stickers. Basically whatever somebody wants, you would have to they send you your statement of intent. Maybe you tweak it, maybe you do exactly what they want, and then you fucking sigilize it and you send it to them. Anybody could do this, but anyways, besides the point, if that's what you want to do, okay, that's your job. Okay, well, first you need to manifest a business license. You need to manifest, you need to be able to, maybe you may need to put in programming to be able to stay at home. Drawing a blank right now for a second. Anyways, so first thing is you're going to need to figure out what you need to buy. You're going to need a printer. You're going to need all these things. This is what all I mean by this is if you figure out the job you want to do potentially. Okay, as you write down, you're going to figure out all the stuff you need. And if there's any programming that goes along with that, like a skill, to make bumper stickers, sigils, you may not need a specific skill, but it might be helpful to put in. Okay, I program myself to be a better artist, be better at drawing. Anybody can do this shit. And that's what I'm saying. If you want to try something, make a sigil saying that you're a better singer, that you're a better drawer. Something you don't really care about, you know what I mean? And then before you know it, one day you'll just start singing or just start drawing and you'll be like, holy fuck, I'm actually a lot better. I'm not saying you're going to be a fucking star or a big artist or make money that way, but your skills will improve. And with practice, and if you continue doing that, you can become a star or improve. This is the fucking secret. This is the event. This is the power we have, and this is what's coming out, and this is what's trying to be suppressed. But this is the event. It isn't some cataclysm. If some cataclysm happens, it's because of the event. And what I mean by that is the event is us being able to use our mind, focus our thoughts, and you add emotion to it and make stuff happen. Well, if a cataclysm happens, it's because we've all focused on a scenario, such as, the Weather Network telling us, hey, weather's going to do this. What do you think they have, the forecast? Think about this. Why do you think they have the long-range forecast, shit like that? Because the more people that watch the long-range forecast, the more likely that forecast is going to happen. But not everybody watches the shit, which is why the weather isn't predictable. But that's why they have these things. And so if we're all focusing on some cataclysm, and that cataclysm is going to happen. This is why I'm out here trying to tell people that the event is that you are a powerful person and you can make and have the shit you want. And it's that fucking simple. It doesn't have to be complicated whatsoever. And any group telling you to hate another group, or that there's aliens or satanic or Lucifer or bad demons all around you and all that shit, take it with a grain of salt. Don't start assuming those people are those things or whatever, or start hating or putting your energy into anything anybody else says. unless it's something you want. That should be, I've already said that before, but I'm saying it again because it's important. If you want something, then stop watching other people's crap and do what you want. Find out what you want. Start writing down what you want, what your dream is. And it could be a bunch of things. You could have like 10 fucking dreams. Maybe you can put 5 of them together and the other 5 together, and then you can start working on one and then the other. It doesn't matter. But the event is us using our mind to our benefit, no longer being oppressed, no longer having to work. Well, we can choose to work, because all the jobs that we have today, if people realize our power, I don't know the percentage, but it would be something big. 40 to 60% of these jobs would probably be gone, because some of these jobs are just jobs to have for somewhere for people to go for, shit we may or may not need. But think about it, when people start realizing that their mind is powerful and all that, well, a lot of people are going to stop watching TV, right? So a lot of the TV channels and a lot of the TV stations and what have you are going to stop. Not going to need people on the phones, answering the phones for these companies if there's nobody there listening or watching the stations, right? So that's going to drop. So what I mean is, but there's still 40 or 60% of the stuff that we need today, electricity, because to get this information online or to buy the books or whatever the case, you have to go online, or you need your card to go to the store, or whatever the case is. We're going to need banks for the money to be deposited. There's still services that we're going to need. You don't want the fucking everybody who's working at the water places, the water treatment centers and all the plumbers and the city workers and shit. You don't want them to all just quit their fucking job, right? There's a need for all these people to have these jobs, or else this shit doesn't work. But so it's a dangerous line of thinking going around saying that, I can't believe that all these people are still working in this crazy way in this day and age, blah, 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 blah. But, because if everybody just starts manifesting their life, well, then what if, you know what I mean? There's none of those. So anyway, I'm rambling on because I'm distracted. But point is, all these essential services can't stop. So there still has to be jobs. And there's still going to be jobs. And people are going to create new jobs with, our manifestations and all that. And who knows, all the jobs and everything we're doing right now could be someone else's manifestation already came to pass, because every company that's building a product, a big fucking massive fucking, for everything that's on the shelves of Walmart, right? Someone had an idea and put that idea into manifestation, right? And then made money selling it to Walmart or whichever retailer, basically. So all the things we're doing now could be someone else's manifestation. And we've been stopped and held back from using our own power to manifest our own desires for so long that everybody thinks it's been done deliberately. And I can't tell you the answer to that question, if that's true or false or yes or no. I don't know. I really don't know. But what I do know is that thinking that shit isn't going to do you any good, and that it doesn't matter what has happened. It doesn't matter if that's the case or not. What matters is you have the potential to do what you want. You have the potential to have a happy life. You don't have to worry this time of year. You don't have to worry this Christmas season. You don't have to stress about money. Okay? You can make everything come into fruition that you want. You can have all the shit that you want. You just have to take the time and do the work. This stuff isn't going to happen overnight. And if you think that this magic is supposed to be instantaneous or quick or fast, then you got another thing coming. It's nothing of the sort. It takes time for this shit to work.
Tired of being what you want me to be, feeling so fake.
Some years ago, I had just given a talk on television in Canada when one of the announcers came up to me and said, you know, if one can believe that this universe is in charge of an intelligent and beneficent God, don't you think he would naturally have provided us with an infallible guide to behavior and to the truth about the universe? And of course, I knew he meant the Bible. I said, no, I think nothing of the kind, because I think a loving God would not do something to his children that would rot their brains. Because if we had an infallible guide, we would never think for ourselves. And therefore our minds would become atrophied. It is as if my grandfather had left me $1 million. I'm glad he didn't. And we have therefore to begin any discussion of the meaning of the life and teaching of Jesus with a look at this thorny question of authority, and especially the authority of Holy Scripture. Because in this country in particular, there are an enormous number of people who seem to believe that the Bible descended from heaven with an angel in the year 1611, which was when the so-called King James, or more correctly authorized version of the Bible, was translated into English. I had a crazy uncle who believed that every word of the Bible was literally true, including the marginal notes. And so whatever date it said in the marginal notes that the world was created in 4004 BC, and he believed it as the word of God. Until one day he was reading, I think, a passage in the book of Proverbs, and found a naughty word in the Bible. And from that time on he was through with it. You know, how Protestant can you get? Now, the question of authority needs to be understood because I am not going to claim any authority in what I say to you, except the authority, such as it is, of history. And that's a pretty uncertain authority. But from my point of view, the four Gospels are, I think, to be regarded on the whole as historical documents. I'll even grant the miracles, because speaking as one heavily influenced by Buddhism, we're not very impressed by miracles. The traditions of Asia, Hindu, Buddhist, Taoist, and so forth, are full of miraculous stories. And we take them in our stride. We don't think that there are any sign of anything in particular except psychic power. And we in the West have, by scientific technology, accomplished things of a very startling nature. We could blow up the whole planet, and Tibetan magicians have never promised to do anything like that. And I'm really a little scared of the growing interest in psychic power, because that's what I call psychotechnics. And so we've made such a mess of things with ordinary techniques that heaven only knows what we might do if we got hold of psychotechnics and started raising people from the dead and prolonging life insufferably and doing everything we wished. I mean, the whole answer to the story of miracles is simply imagine that you're God and that you can have anything you want. Well, you'd have it for quite a long time. And then after a while, you say, this is getting pretty dull, because I know in advance everything that's going to happen. And so you would wish for a surprise. And you would find yourself this evening in this church as a human being. So, I mean, that is the miracle thing. I think miracles are probably possible. That doesn't bother me. And as a matter of fact, when you read the writings of the early fathers of the church, the great theologians like St. Clement, Gregory of Nyssa, St. John of Damascus, even Thomas Aquinas, they're not interested in the historicity of the Bible. They take that sort of for granted, but forget it. They're interested in its deeper meaning. And therefore they always interpret all the tales like Jonah and the whale. They don't bother even to doubt whether Jonah was or was not swallowed by a whale or other big fish. But they see in the story of Jonah and the whale a prefiguration of the resurrection of Christ. And then even when it comes to the resurrection of Christ, they're not worrying about the chemistry or the physics of a risen body. What they're interested in is that the idea of the resurrection of the body has something to say about the meaning of the physical body in the eyes of God. That the physical body, in other words, is not something worthless and unspiritual, but something which is an object of the divine love. And so, therefore, I'm not going to be concerned with whether or not miraculous events happen. It seems to me entirely beside the point. So I regard the four Gospels as, on the whole, as good a historical document as anything else we have from that period, including the Gospel of St. John. And that's important. It used to be fashionable to regard the Gospel of St. John as late. In other words, at the turn of the century, the higher critics of the New Testament assigned the Gospel of St. John to about 125 A.D. And the reason was just simple. Those higher critics at that time just assumed that the simple teachings of Jesus could not possibly have included any such complicated mystical theology. And therefore they said, well, it must be later. Now, as a matter of fact, in the text of the Gospel of St. John, the local color, his knowledge of the topography of Jerusalem, and his knowledge of the Jewish calendar is more accurate than that of the other three writers, Matthew, Mark, and Luke. And it seems to me perfectly simple to assume that John recorded the inner teaching which he gave to his disciples, and that Matthew, Mark, and Luke record the more exoteric teaching which he gave to people at large. Now, what about then the authority of these scriptures? We could take this problem in two steps. A lot of people don't know how we got the Bible at all. We Westerners got the Bible thanks to the Catholic Church. The Catholic Church and members of the Church wrote the books of the New Testament. And they took over the books of the Old Testament, which even by the time of Christ had not been finally decided upon by the Jews. The Jews did not close the canon of the Old Testament until the year 100 A.D. or thereabouts at the Synod of Jamnia. And then they finally decided which were the canonical books of the Hebrew Scriptures and embodied them in the Masoretic text, the earliest copy of which dates from the 10th century, early in the 10th century A.D. The books to be included in the New Testament were not finally decided upon until the year 382 A.D. again, at the Synod of Rome under Pope Damasus. So it was the Church, the Catholic Church, that promulgated the Bible and said, we are giving you these scriptures on our authority and by the authority of the informal tradition that has existed among us from the beginning, inspired by the Holy Spirit. So you receive historically the Bible on the Church's say-so. And the Catholic Church insists, therefore, that the Church, collectively, speaking under the presumed guidance of the Holy Spirit, has the authority to interpret the Bible. And you can take that or leave it. Because obviously, the authority of the Bible is not, first of all, based on the Bible itself. I can write a Bible and state within that book that it is indeed the Word of God which I have received. And you're at liberty to believe me or not. Hindus believe that the Vedas are divinely revealed and inspired with just as much fervor as any Christian or any Jew. Muslims believe that the Quran is divinely inspired. And some Buddhists believe that their sutras are also of divine or rather of Buddhic origin. The Japanese believe that the ancient texts of Shinto are likewise of divine origin. And who is to be judged? If we're going to argue about this as to which version of the truth is the correct one, we will always end up in an argument in which the judge and the advocate are the same person. And you wouldn't want that if you were brought into a court of law, would you? Because if I say that, well, thinking it all over, I find that Jesus Christ is the greatest being who ever came onto this earth, by what standards do I judge? Why, obviously, I judge by the sort of moral standards that have been given to me as somebody brought up in a Christian culture. There is nobody impartial who can decide between all the religions, because more or less everybody has been, in one way or another, influenced by one of them. So, if the church says the Bible is true, it finally comes down to you. Are you going to believe the church or aren't you? If nobody believes the church, it will be perfectly plain, won't it, that the church has no authority. Because the people is always the source of authority. That's why de Tocqueville said that the people gets what government it deserves. And so you may say, well, God himself is the authority. Well, how are we to show that? That's your opinion. You say, well, you wait and see. The day of judgment is coming, and then you'll find out who's the authority. Yes, but at the moment, there is no evidence for the day of judgment. And it remains, until there is evidence, simply your opinion that the day of judgment is coming. And there is nothing else to go on, except the opinion of other people who hold the same view and whose opinions you bought. So really, I won't deny anybody's right to hold these opinions. You may indeed believe that the Bible is literally true and that it was actually dictated by God to Moses and the prophets and the apostles. And that may be your opinion, and you are at liberty to hold it. I don't agree with you. I do believe, on the other hand, that there is a sense in which the Bible is divinely inspired. But I mean by inspiration something utterly different from dictation. Receiving a dictated message from an omniscient authority. I think inspiration comes very seldom in words. In fact, almost all the words written down by automatic writing from psychic input that I've ever read strike me as a bit thin. When a psychic begins to try and write of deep mysteries instead of telling you what your sickness is or who your grandmother was, he begins to get superficial. And psychically communicated philosophy is never as interesting as philosophy carefully thought out. But divine inspiration isn't that kind of communication. Divine inspiration is, for example, to feel, for reasons that you can't really understand, that you love people. Divine inspiration is a wisdom which it's very difficult to put into words, like mystical experience. That's divine inspiration. And a person who writes out of that experience could be said to be divinely inspired. Or it might come through dreams, through archetypal messages from the collective unconscious, through which the Holy Spirit could be said to work. But since inspiration always comes through a human vehicle, it is liable to be distorted by that vehicle. In other words, I'm talking to you through a sound system, and it's the only one now available. Now, if there's something wrong with this sound system, whatever truths I might utter to you will be distorted. My voice will be distorted. And you might mistake the meaning of what I said. Now, so therefore, everybody who receives divine inspiration, and I'm using that in a very loose way, you can mean anything you like by divine, that's your option, but anybody who receives it will express it within the limits of what language he knows. And by language here, I don't only mean English, Latin, Greek, Hebrew, or Sanskrit. I mean language in the sense of what sort of terms are available to you. What kind of religion were you brought up with? Now you see, if you were brought up in the Bible Belt, you came out of Arkansas somewhere, and that's all the religion you knew, and you had a mystical experience of the type where you suddenly discover that you are one with God. Then you're liable to get up and say, I'm Jesus Christ. And lots of people do. Well, the culture that we live in just can't allow that. There's only one Jesus Christ. And sort of you don't look like you were Jesus Christ coming back again, because it's said in the scriptures that when he comes back, there'll be no doubt about it. He'll appear in the heavens with legions of angels, and you're not doing that. You're just old Joe Dokes that we knew years ago, and now you say you're Jesus Christ. Well, he says that when Jesus Christ said he was God, nobody believed him, and you don't believe again. You know, you can't answer that argument. But you see, he says it that way because he is trying to express what happened to him in terms of a religious language which is circumscribed by the Holy Bible. He's never read the Upanishads. He's never read the Diamond Sutra. He's never read the Tibetan Book of the Dead or the I Ching or the Lao Tzu. And therefore, there is no other way in which he can say this. But if he had read the Upanishads, he would have had no difficulty, and nor would the culture, the society in which he was talking, have any difficulty. Because it says in the Upanishads, we are all incarnations of God. Only they don't mean by the word God. In fact, they don't use that word. They use Brahman. They don't mean the same thing that a Hebrew meant by God. Because the Brahman is not personal. Brahman is, we would say, suprapersonal. Not impersonal, because that is a negation. But I would say suprapersonal. Brahman is not he or she. Has no sex. Brahman is not the creator of the world as something underneath and subject to Brahman, but the actor of the world, the player of all the parts, so that everyone is a mask, which is the meaning of the word person, in which the Brahman plays a role. And like an absorbed actor, the divine spirit gets so absorbed in playing the role as to become it, and to be bewitched, and this is all part of the game, into believing I am that role. When you were babies, you knew who you were. Psychoanalysts refer to that as the oceanic feeling. They don't really like it, but they admit that it exists, where the baby cannot distinguish between the world and the way it acts upon the world. It's all one process, which is, of course, the way things are. But we learn very quickly, because we're taught very quickly, what is you and what is not you. What is voluntary, what is involuntary, because you can be punished for the voluntary, but not for the involuntary. And so we unlearn what we knew in the beginning. And in the course of life, if we're fortunate, we discover again what we really are, that each one of us is what would be called in Arabic or Hebrew the Son of God. And the word son of means of the nature of, as when you call someone a son of a bitch. Or in Arabic you say Ebni Kelb, which means son of a dog, Ebni El Homar, son of a donkey. So, the son of Belial means an evil person. Son of God means a divine person. Human being who has realized union with God. Now my assumption, in my opinion, is that Jesus of Nazareth was a human being, like Buddha, like Sri Ramakrishna, like Ramana Maharshi, etc., who early in life had a colossal experience of what we call cosmic consciousness. Now, you don't have to be any particular kind of religion to get this experience. It can hit anyone, anytime, like falling in love. There are obviously a number of you in this building who've had it, in greater or lesser degree. But it's found all over the world. And when it hits you, you know it. Sometimes it comes after long practice of meditations and spiritual discipline. Sometimes it comes for no reason that anybody can determine. We say it's the grace of God. But there comes this overwhelming conviction that you have mistaken your identity. That what you thought, what I thought was just old Alan Watts, who I know very well is just a big act and a show. But what I thought was in me was only completely superficial. That I am an expression of an eternal something or other. X. A name that can't be named, as the name of God was taboo among the Hebrews. I am. And that I suddenly understand why, exactly why everything is the way it is. It's perfectly clear. Furthermore, I feel no longer any boundary between what I do and what happens to me. I feel that everything that's going on is my doing just as my breathing is. Is your breathing voluntary or involuntary? Do you do it or does it happen to you? So you can feel it both ways. But you feel everything like breathing. And it isn't as if you have become a puppet. There is no longer any separate you. There is just this great happening going on. And if you have the name in your background, you will say, this happening is God, or the will of God, or the doing of God. Or if you don't have that word in your background, you will say with the Chinese, it is the flowing of the Tao. Or if you're a Hindu, you will say it is the Maya of Brahman. The Maya means the magical power, the creative illusion, the play. So you can very well understand how people to whom this happens feel genuinely inspired. Because very often there goes along with it an extremely warm feeling. Because you see the divine in everybody else's eyes. When Kabir, a great Hindu-Muslim mystic, was a very old man, he used to look around at people and say, to whom shall I preach? Because he saw the beloved in all eyes. And could see, sometimes I look into people's eyes, and I can look right down, and I can see that beloved in the depths of those pools. And yet the expression on the face is saying, what, me? That's the funniest thing. But there is everybody, in his own peculiar way, playing out an essential part in this colossal cosmic drama. And it's so strange that one can even feel it in people you thoroughly dislike. So, let's suppose then that Jesus had such an experience. But You see, Jesus has a limitation, that he doesn't know of any religion other than those of the immediate Near East. He might know something about Egyptian religion, a little bit maybe about Greek religion, but mostly about Hebrew. There is no evidence whatsoever that he knew anything about India or China. And people who think, Jesus was God, assume that he must have known because he would have been omniscient. No. St. Paul makes it perfectly clear in the epistle to the Philippians that Jesus renounced his divine powers so as to be man. Let this mind be in you, which was also in Christ Jesus, who being in not equality a thing unto, but humbled himself and made himself of no reputation, and was found in fashion as a man, and became obedient to death. Theologians call that kenosis, which means self-emptying. So, obviously, an omnipotent and omniscient man would not really be a man. So even if you take the very orthodox Catholic doctrine of the nature of Christ, that he was both true God and true man, you must say that for true God to be united with true man, true God has to make a voluntary renunciation, for the time being, of omniscience and omnipotence, and omnipresence for that matter. Now therefore, if Jesus were to come right out and say, I am the Son of God, that's like saying I'm the boss's son. Or I am the boss. And everybody immediately says that is blasphemy. That is subversion. That is trying to introduce democracy into the kingdom of heaven. That is, you are a usurper of the throne. No man has seen God. Now, Jesus, in his exoteric teaching, as recorded in the Synoptic Gospels, was pretty cagey about this. He didn't come right out there and say, I and the Father are one. Instead, he identified himself with the Messiah described in the second part of the prophet Isaiah. The suffering servant who was despised and rejected of men. And this man is the non-political Messiah, in other words. It was convenient to make that identification, even though it would get him into trouble. But to his elect disciples, as recorded in St. John, he came right out and said, before Abraham was, I am. I am the way, the truth, and the life. I am the resurrection and the life. I am the living bread that comes down from heaven. I and the Father are one, and he who has seen me has seen the Father. And there can be no mistaking that language. So the Jews found out, and they put him to death, or had him put to death, for blasphemy. This is no cause for any special antagonism to the Jews. We would do exactly the same thing. It's always done. It happened to one of the great Sufi mystics in Persia, who had the same experience. Now what happened? The apostles didn't quite get the point. They were awed by the miracles of Jesus. They worshipped him as people do worship gurus. And it's, you know, to what lengths that can go if you've been around guru land. And so the Christian said, okay, Jesus of Nazareth was the Son of God, but let it stop right there. Nobody else. So what happened was that Jesus was pedestalized. He was put in a position that was safely upstairs, so that his troublesome experience of cosmic consciousness would not come and cause other people to be a nuisance. And those who have had this experience and expressed it during those times when the church had political power were almost invariably persecuted. Gordiano Bruno was burnt at the stake. John Scotus Origina was excommunicated. Meister Eckhart's theses were condemned, and so on and so on. A few mystics got away with it because they used cautious language. But you see what happens. If you pedestalize Jesus, you strangle the gospel at birth. And it has been the tradition in both the Catholic Church and in Protestantism to pass off what I will call an emasculated gospel. Gospel means good news. And I cannot for the life of me think what is the good news about the gospel as ordinarily handed down. Because look here. Here is the revelation of God in Christ, in Jesus. And we are supposed to follow his life and example without having the unique advantage of being the boss's son. Now, the tradition, both Catholic and Protestant fundamentalist, represents Jesus to us as a freak, born of a virgin, knowing he is the Son of God, having the power of miracles, knowing that basically it's impossible to kill him, he's going to rise again in the end. And we are asked to take up our cross and follow him when we don't know that about ourselves at all. So what happens is this. We are delivered, therefore, a gospel which is in fact an impossible religion. It's impossible to follow the way of Christ. All right. Many a Christian has admitted it. I'm a miserable sinner. I fall far short of the example of Christ. But do you realize, the more you say that, the better you are. Because what happened was that Christianity institutionalized guilt as a virtue. You see, you can never come up to it. Never. And therefore, you will always be aware of your shortcomings. And so the more shortcomings you feel, the more, in other words, you are aware of the vast abyss between Christ and yourself. You will have your opportunity to speak in the question period, madam. So, you go to confession. And if you've got a nice, dear, understanding confessor, he won't get angry with you. He'll say, my child, you know you've sinned very grievously, but you must realize that the love of God and of our Lord is infinite, and that naturally you are forgiven. As a token of thanksgiving, say 3 Hail Marys. And you know you've committed a murder and robbed a bank and fornicated around and so on. And the priest is perfectly patient and quiet. Well, you feel awful. Think, I have done that. To the love of God, I have wounded Jesus, grieved the Holy Spirit, and so on. But you know in the back of your mind you're going to do it all over again. You won't be able to help yourself. You'll try, but there's always a greater and greater sense of guilt. Now, the lady objected that I was putting up a straw man and knocking it down. This is the Christianity of most people. Now, there is a much more subtle Christianity of the theologians, the mystics, and the philosophers. But it's not what gets preached from the pulpit. Grant you. But the message of Billy Graham is approximately what I've given you. And of all, what I will call fundamentalist forms of Catholicism and Protestantism. What would the real gospel be? The real good news is not simply that Jesus of Nazareth was the Son of God, but that he was a powerful Son of God who came to open everybody's eyes to the fact that you are too. And this is perfectly plain. If you will go to the 10th chapter of St. John, verse 30. There is the passage where Jesus says, I and the Father are one. And there are some people who are not intimate disciples around, and they're horrified. And they immediately pick up stones to stone him. He says, many good works I have shown you from the Father, and for which of these do you stone me? And they said, for a good work we stone you not, but for blasphemy, because you being a man make yourself God. And he replied, isn't it written in your law, I have said you are gods? He's quoting the 82nd Psalm. Is it not written in your law, I have said, you are gods? If God called then those to whom he gave his word gods, and you can't deny the scriptures, how can you say I blaspheme? Because I said, I am a son of God. Well, there's the whole thing in a nutshell. Because if you read the King James Bible that descended with the angel, you will see in italics in front of these words Son of God, the Son of God, because I said I am the Son of God. And most people think that the italics are for emphasis. They're not. The italics indicate words interpolated by the translators. You will not find that in the Greek. The Greek says a Son of God. So it seems to me here perfectly plain that Jesus is got it in the back of his mind that this isn't something peculiar to himself. So when he says, I am the way, no man comes to the Father but by me, this I am, this me, is the divine in us, which in Hebrew would be called the Ruach Adonai. There's a great deal of made of this by the esoteric Jews, the Kabbalists, and the Hasidim. The Ruach is the breath which God breathed into the nostrils of Adam. It is differing from the soul. The individual soul in Hebrew is called nephesh. And so we translate the Ruach into the Greek pneuma and the nephesh into psyche or psyche. The spirit. And you ask a theologian what's the difference between the soul and the spirit, and he won't be able to tell you. But it's very clear in St. Paul's writings. So the point is that the Ruach is the divine, in the creature by virtue of which we are sons of or of the nature of God. Manifestations of the divine. This discovery is the gospel. That is the good news. But this has been perpetually repressed throughout the history of Western religion, because all Western religions have taken the form of celestial monarchies and therefore have discouraged democracy in the kingdom of heaven. Until, as a consequence of the teaching of the German and Flemish mystics in the 15th century, there began to be such movements as the Anabaptists, the Brothers of the Free Spirit, and the Levelers and the Quakers. A spiritual movement which came to this country and founded a republic. And not a monarchy. And how could you say that a republic is the best form of government if you think that the universe is a monarchy? Obviously, if God is top on a monarchy, monarchy is the best form of government. But you see, ever so many citizens of this republic think they ought to believe that the universe is a monarchy. And therefore they are always at odds with the republic. It is from principally white, racist Christians that we have the threat of fascism in this country. Because, you see, they have a religion which is militant, which is not the religion of Jesus, which was the realization of divine sonship, but the religion about Jesus, which pedestalizes him, and which says only this man, of all the sons of woman, was divine, and you had better recognize it. And so it speaks of itself as the church militant. The onward Christian soldiers marching us to war. Utterly exclusive. Convinced in advance of examining the doctrines of any other religion that is the top religion. And so it becomes a freak religion. Just as it has made a freak of Jesus, an unnatural man. It claims uniqueness, not realizing that what it does teach would be far more credible if it were truly Catholic. That is to say, restated again the truths which have been known from time immemorial, which have appeared in all the great cultures of the world. But even very liberal Protestants still want to say, somehow, so as I suppose to keep the mission effort going, or to pay off the mortgage. Yes, these other religions are very good. God has no doubt revealed himself through Buddha and Lao Tzu. But now, obviously, it is a matter of temperament. You can be loyal to Jesus, just as you're loyal to your own country. But you are not serving your country if you think that it's necessarily the best of all possible countries. That is doing a disservice to your country. It is refusing to be critical where criticism is proper. So of religion. Every religion should be self-critical. Otherwise, it soon degenerates into a self-righteous hypocrisy. If then we can see this, that Jesus speaks not from the situation of a historical deus ex machina, a kind of weird, extraordinary event, but he is a voice which joins with other voices that have said in every place and time, wake up, man, wake up, and realize who you are. Now, I don't think, you see, until churches get with that they're going to have very much relevance. You see, popular Protestantism and popular Catholicism will tell you nothing about mystical religion. The message of the preacher, 52 Sundays a year, is, dear people, be good. We've heard it ad nauseam. Or believe in this. He may occasionally give a sermon on what happens after death or the nature of God. But basically, the sermon is be good. But how? As St. Paul said, to will is present with me. But how to do that which is good I find not, for the good that I would that I do not, and the evil that I would not that I do. How are we going to be changed? Obviously, there cannot be a vitality of religion without vital religious experience. And that's something much more than emoting over singing Onward Christian Soldiers. But you see, what happens in our ecclesiastical goings-on is that we run a talking shop. We pray. We tell God what to do or give advice as if he didn't know. We read the scriptures. And remember, talking of the Bible, Jesus said, you search the scriptures daily, for in them you think you have life. St. Paul made some rather funny references about the spirit which giveth life and the letter which kills. I think the Bible ought to be ceremoniously and reverently burned every Easter. We need it no more because the Spirit is with us. It's a dangerous book. And to worship it is, of course, a far more dangerous idolatry than bowing down to images of wood and stone. Because nobody in his senses can confuse a wooden image with God, but you can very easily confuse a set of ideas with God, because concepts are more rarefied and abstract. So with this endless talking in church, we can preach, but by and large preaching does nothing but excite a sense of anxiety and guilt. And you can't love out of that. No scolding, no rational demonstration of the right way to behave is going to inspire people with love. Something else must happen. Well, we'll say, what are we going to do about it? Do about it. You have no faith? Be quiet. Even Quakers aren't quiet. They sit in a meeting and think. At least some of them do. But supposing we are really quiet, we don't think. Be absolutely silent through and through. We say, well, you'll just fall into a blank. Oh, ever tried? I feel then, you see, that it's enormously important that churches stop being talking shops. They become centers of contemplation. What is contemplation? Contemplum. It's what you do in the temple. You don't come to the temple to chatter. But to be still and know that I am God. And this is why, if the Christian religion, if the gospel of Christ is to mean anything at all, instead of just being one of the forgotten religions, along with Osiris and Mithra, we must see Christ as the great mystic. In the proper sense of the word mystic, not someone who has all sorts of magical powers and understands spirits and so on. A mystic, strictly speaking, is one who realizes union with God, by whatever name. This seems to me the crux and message of the gospel, summed up in the prayer of Jesus, which St. John records, as he speaks over his disciples, praying that they may be one, even as you, Father, and I are one, that they may be all one. All realize this divine sonship, or oneness, basic identity, with the eternal energy of the universe and the love that moves the sun and other stars. So, when somebody speaks as an authority, that means speaks as the author. That's all it means. It's a statement of which you are the author, and therefore for which you assume responsibility. That is to speak with authority. And to be original is likewise not to be freaky, but to speak from the origin. That is what Christians mean when they say to speak in the Spirit, to have your mouth possessed by the Holy Spirit, as they believe the mouth of Jesus was possessed by the Holy Spirit. So the gospel of Jesus, which of course was hushed up from its inception, was that wake up everybody and find out who you are. Asking that, again in the Gospel of St. John, they, pointing to his disciples, may be one, even as you, Father, and I are one. And when he was accused of blasphemy, the Jews took up stones to stone him, you know. And he said, many good works have I shown you from the Father, and from which of these do you stone me? And they said, for a good work we don't stone you, but for blasphemy, because you being a man make yourself God. Now listen to the reply. He said, is it not written in your law, I have said ye are gods? And if that is what the scripture says, it can't be denied. So why do you tell me I blaspheme because I say I am a son of God? No answer. Because I said I am a son of God. It doesn't say that in your King James translation. It says I am the Son of God. And you'll see the italicized, and you will think that that is for emphasis if you don't realize that passages in italics in the King James Bible are interpolations by the translators. In Greek, leaving out the definite article is equivalent of having the indefinite article. Weos to theou is a son of God, not oios to theou. So, son of, in Hebrew and in Arabic, means of the nature of. When we call someone a son of a bitch, we mean bitchy. And so if you call someone a son of God, you mean divine. Of the nature of God. As the Nicene Creed subsequently defined it, he is of one substance with the Father. But what happened was that this being blasphemy for the Jews, it became blasphemy for the Christians, for anyone else than Jesus to say it. They said, okay, baby, it was so with you, but there it stops. No more of this business. And as a result of that, Jesus was made irrelevant by pedestalization, by being kicked upstairs. Oh, wow. In spite of the fact that he said, greater works than these that I do shall you do. Oh no, upstairs with you, baby, because we just can't have that sort of thing going on in a monarchical universe. We're not going to have democracy in the kingdom of heaven. So, This is why the gospel is impossible, because we are supposed to follow the example of Christ, where he says, for example, be not anxious for the morrow. Do not worry about what you shall eat, what you shall drink, and what you shall wear. God will take care of you. Doesn't he take care of the birds? Don't the flowers grow? They're wonderful. They're crazy. They're great. What are you worrying about? I've never heard a sermon preached on that. Never. Because it's totally subversive. The economy would crash. So they say, oh, yes, that's all very well, but he was the boss's son. See, he had that colossal advantage. Take up your cross and follow him. Hey, but wait a minute. I don't know I'm going to be resurrected 3 days later. I can't do all those miracles. He had an unfair advantage. So how can you ask us to follow the example of Christ? But supposing he didn't have an unfair advantage. Supposing that what was true about Jesus as a Son of God is true of us. Only a few of us know it. And we are pretty careful to be quiet about it, lest the same thing happen to us as happened to Jesus. And indeed it often does. And you know, you get these people from Arkansas or Texas or anywhere in the Bible Belt who never heard of the Upanishads, and they have this cosmic consciousness experience, and they realize that that's what happened to Jesus. They say, I'm Jesus, come back. Well, everybody says to them, you aren't Jesus. It's pretty obvious you're not Jesus. You're just Joe Dogs. Well, he says that's what they said about Jesus. He has a perfect argument, except they say you're not much of a Jesus. They say, all right, if you're Jesus, command that these stones be made bread. And he says, a wicked and deceitful generation seeketh for a sign, and there shall no sign be given. Now, why talk about this? Is it interesting? Is it important for the human being to realize that in some sense of the word, whatever it means, he is God or one with God, as is plainly taught by the Hindus, hinted at by the Buddhists, only they don't like to put it out as a concept, in case people will use the concept as an idol to hang on to. They want you to find out for yourself and not believe in it. And certainly the Taoists understand it, the Sufis understand it, a lot of people understand it. But so what? Well, the importance of it is this, that to know that you are God is another way of saying that you feel completely with this universe. You feel profoundly rooted in it and connected with it. You feel, in other words, that the whole energy which expresses itself in the galaxies is intimate. It is not something to which you are a stranger, but it is that with which you, whatever that is, are intimately bound up. That in your seeing, your hearing, your talking, your thinking, your moving, you express that which it is which moves the sun and other stars. And if you don't know that, if you don't feel that, well, naturally you feel alien, you feel a stranger in the world, and if you feel a stranger, you feel hostile. And therefore, you start to bulldoze things about, to beat it up, and to try and make the world submit to your will, and you become a real troublemaker. So I feel also one reason why you become hostile is that feeling that you were just brought into this place, that your father and mother went up to some monkey business that they probably shouldn't have done, or it was bad rubber goods, and as a result of this, here you are, and you didn't ask to be here. Well, you always feel you can turn around and blame them. You can blame somebody. You can blame the government. You can blame the rascals. You can blame the cheaters. Always supposing you yourself aren't a rascal, which is a long odds. You always can blame someone and say, I didn't ask for it. Take it away. And yet, very few people are all too ready to take it away. Camus said that the only serious philosophical problem is whether or not to commit suicide. And if you don't say take it away, what are you going to do? You've really got to assume responsibility for it. You've got to say yes to what happens. It's my karma. And that doesn't mean merely, there are many misinterpretations of the doctrine of karma. It's usually impopularly understood is that what happens to you, either fortunate or unfortunate, is the result of good or bad deeds in a previous life. Well, that's popular superstition. The real meaning of karma, the word in Sanskrit means simply doing. And if I say of an event it is your karma, it is saying it is your doing. So the exposition, a book which would expound karma, would be not so much a whodunit as a youdunit. But that seems fantastic. Go back to your childhood. What were the fascinating things? What's out there? What's beyond the stars? How long does it go on? And Mama said, it goes on always and always and always. The child wonders. It's excited. That is a
to know too much about me, oh no, 'cause I know you take advantage of the words that I say. You're looking for a way to depress me, make me pay. You don't want me to be too close around you, 'cause I would see all the weak sides that you got that what you're trying to hide. You know that I would nail you if I could, not my pride. You're on the top when as soon as you're fading, I will grow. I don't like you, you don't like me. We're like an energy, yeah, we're like an energy, we do. It's a mind game we play. Rule the ruse, major cliche. Yeah, one of us is 50, others going insane. And every time we think that possessions will remain. You're on the top when I am low. As soon as you're and our opponent's the one to blame. Thinking his ways, that's something that we both long for. Living this way is something that we never did plan, but I don't think that would change. 'Cause we're stuck in roles as others and typos. You're on the top when I am low. As soon as you're fading, I will grow. I don't like you, you don't like me. We're like an energy, yeah, we're like an energy. So you got me up against the wall. What I'm saying is, this is the anthem. Throw all your hands up. Y'all got to feel me. Sing if you're with me. Yeah. So wanna be just like you. This is the anthem. Throw all your hands up. Y'all got to feel me. Sing if you're with me. Another loser anthem. Another loser anthem. Another loser anthem. Another loser anthem.
Sometimes I feel like I don't have a partner. Sometimes I feel like my only friend is the city I live in, the city of angel. Lonely as I am, together we cry. Drive on the streets 'cause she's my companion. I walk through the hills 'cause she knows who I am. She sees my good deeds and she kisses me windy. And I never worry, now that is a lie. I don't ever want to the place I love, take me all the way. I don't ever wanna feel like I did that day. Take me to the place I love, take me all the way. Yeah, yeah, yeah. It's hard to believe there's nobody out there. It's hard to believe that I'm all alone. At least I have her love to see that she loves me. Lonely as I am, together we cry. I don't ever wanna feel like I did that day. Take me to the place I love, take me all the way. I don't ever wanna feel like I did that day. Take me to the place I love, take me all the way. Yeah, yeah. Oh, no, no, no. Just a young gun with a quick fuse. I was uptight, wanna let loose. I was dreaming of bigger things and wanna leave my old life behind. Not a yes sir, not a follower. Fit the box, fit the mold, have a seat in the foyer. Take a number. I was lightning before the thunder.
Thunder, 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 thunder,
Thunder, feel the thunder. Lightning and the thunder. Thunder, feel the thunder. Lightning and the thunder. Thunder, thunder, thunder. Kids were laughing in my classes while I was scheming for the masses. Who do you think you are? Dreaming about being a big star. They say you're basic, they say you're easy. You're always riding in the backseat. Now I'm smiling from the stage while you were clapping in the nosebleeds.
thunder, 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 thunder,
Thunder, feel the thunder. thunder, lightning and the thunder, 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 feel the thunder, lightning and the thunder, 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 feel the thunder, lightning and the thunder, 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 feel the thunder, lightning and the thunder, 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 feel the thunder, lightning and the thunder, thunder.
His eyes, they closed, and his last breath spoke. He had seen all to be seen. A life once full, now an empty vase, with the blossoms on his early grave. Walk away, me boy, walk away, me boy, and by morning we'll be free. Wipe that golden tear from your mother dear, and raise what's left of the flag for me. Then the rosary beads, count them 1, 2, 3, fell apart as they hit the floor. In our garb of black, we must pay respect to the colour we're born to mourn. Walk away,